4, 2, 3, 1. My mini's really neat. He's painted lovely gray. He's not really slow, no matter what the people say. Classic mini break.
With the OG podcaster in the classic mini world, Peter.
How are you doing, bud?
What's up?
How you doing? Oh, geez. Just amazing Saturday here in lovely Georgia. It's more beautiful. I'm afternoon. You're just rising the sun on your end of the world. So things are really good, man. Thanks again for asking, and thanks again for having me on. This has been amazing. So
Yeah. I've been, when I found your podcast, I don't even remember how I found the Classic Mini Breakdown podcast, and I was like, damn, this is awesome. Like, I don't know why. I was big into podcasts, listening, and I don't know if I searched Classic Mini podcast one day, like just in Spotify, and it popped up. I was like, oh shit, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
you could search for, like, I'm sure every podcast who types in mini, and then they'll get from like the origins of S to mini miniaturing podcasts, and then you might get one like we talk about a classic former classic podcast. You're like, and everyone's scrambling at something.
yeah.
This thing that we all love, which is classics, right? Or even the new minis for that matter. It's like it was very hard to find it for myself as well. So absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like in the United States, if you type in Classic Mini anywhere, you either get new mini stuff or apparently Nintendo came out with a Classic Mini Nintendo, and that one always pops up for me as well. I'm sure people listening are like, what the hell are you talking about? But the people in the U.S. know what we're talking about.
Yep. Really, we're in the wrong business, or at least you're in the wrong business. Change your content over to mini Nintendo systems.
Yeah, seriously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for being on. When I first started this podcast, I was like, should I carry on the beer review, the drink review? And I typically record in the morning if I'm trying to like get somebody in the UK or something. So I was like, maybe the people are going to think I'm an alcoholic for drinking in the early morning. Because I always like, it's like, what time is it over there? Oh, it's 8 a.m. here. I'm like cracking a beer. But I have that was one part of the podcast that I really enjoyed because I got into, craft beers and really trying to crack them and not look at the tasting notes and smell it, pour it, drink it, and see if I could figure it out. And then I would read the can and stuff like that. So I enjoyed listening to the drink reviews and that kind of stuff. So, but I thought I'd leave it to you.
Funny thing. Not a lot of people knew this, but I would say out of what I did, 40 episodes, there might have been 5 that I was in so early in the morning that I actually, I had a can of like seltzer water, but that I the beer. Drink it the night before and made notes on it. So all in the art of the but then again, I wasn't doing video, right? So I was doing all audio. So you could actually do things and pictures in people's minds. That was I love that vintage way of doing that kind of thing. But yeah, I stayed away from the boozer in the morning as much as possible. So.
Yeah, I get you. I feel you on that. So, well, man, I want to jump into this, and I would assume most people that are listening to this podcast are at least familiar with Classic Mini Breakdown. And I know a lot of people reached out to me when I first started. They're like, "Oh, thank you so much," because I really miss Classic Mini Breakdown. I was like, "Me too, man. That's why I started this."
So do I.
But, I think we all listen to probably all the episodes, but I want to jump into and kind of, I didn't want to mimic you. So my kind of thing here is trying to find the stories behind people's minis and how you got into it. So I just kind of want what got you into the mini? I briefly remember the story of maybe you saw one in a Japanese mini magazine or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a dual approach to classic minis. So I've always been a car guy. Obviously, I'm here in a garage, ton of tools.
Yep.
I'm literally bending some metal later to for some brackets I'm making. But I had MGA, an old MGA that that my grandpa hated him driving. And I think first step into classic minis was when I would go to my friend's house and play hot cars, right? The tracks always had these vintage cars on there because at the time, 70s, it was like he had this mini, and it was kind of like a cream colored with like an orange stripe on it. And I was like, I always wanted that car. Aside from the Ferraris to the Lamborghinis to the Ford Mustangs on that slot, and I actually kept this thing. I always had a dream of it, and I always asked my dad, and he's like, "Oh, British cars all trash," because he kind of his from his MA into a Volare, which actually was worse. So take that, and then step ahead a few years later after tinkering with cars and through my German trash and my American trash, that stuff. I started modifying. I got into Mazda Miatas. This is the other one we own. My wife and I own this one. It's heavily mod. But I had a 95 Miata that was called the Blue Potato that a lot of people in the Miata community kind of remember that. And it was one of the first throttle body setups on this Miata. Probably like 3 or country at the time that actually had those. Now they're everywhere. For some reason, I don't know why, because they don't really run really well. So you have it really dialed in. But at that point into the Japanese culture of, the Japanese, they go very deep on one thing and they get at it, and they don't ever, their thing is they don't like to scale a lot. I mean, they do money if they're in big business, but they hand make things for cars that I was really into. That led me to go in one year for the Miata stuff, and I walked into a automotive called Korn's, as you would imagine. Korn, I'm like, weird. I don't understand either. And they had the orange Mini with a cream stripe, complete inverse of my thought. That was just it was a sign from above, and I really fell in love with that mini on the shore. Had Watanabe wheat 10-inch wheels on it, thick Advan tires. All the photos that you're posting on Instagram, right? You post a lot in your feed, like at any moment, like there's another one, there's another one. The kind of stuff that I got really into, and I'm gonna sell the Miata, and then start a new project, which I like being creative, much like yourself. You like to have a vision of Mini, and that's how it started. And I found after 2 years of searching, and whenever you want a Mini, they're none to be found ever, or you have to settle on like the third. Well, it is kind of missing the front end. Or in your case, maybe in parts, right? And you kind of make some excuses in your head, and then your girlfriend or wife's like, yeah, but it's going to be running and so I found one that was in between, not so ideal, and that's kind of how it started. Is just I really wanted to have a tune that was really embrace the Japanese automotive culture with a look after. So that was kind of it.
Yeah, I'm really trying to find somebody, and I might reach out to Classic Mini Japan, because I really want to find somebody in the Japanese Mini culture to jump on this podcast and really deep dive into their car. It's second to none. It's a British car, but they're so good. You briefly mentioned like they're hand make things and one-offs, and we're so used to just kind of going online and clicking order for like brand new stuff, which is kind of junky nowadays, a lot of it. And I think we'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, I really want their car culture is just amazing, and the Classic Mini, they've really taken it and just made it their own. And it's not like it's so weird the way you see it, and it's like, what is so different about that? And you start digging into it, and it's like, how did they make it so perfect? I don't know. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's really interesting. I love their later model Rovers that they make look like Mark I's, and it's just such a great example of taking something and making it your own.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know this for a fact, but from what I've learned over the years, I put a hypothesis together. I don't have an issue making a 97 look like a 69. They just love vintage things in Japan. There's a subculture, vintage jeans, denim. They're getting They're getting loom things that are from the 50s, and they're building those with the exact parts are handmade, like all that. They don't have any where it's like, oh, I can't have a Coupe S badge in my Mini because people are gonna think I'm real. It's like they're it's like you have one life and you have to live for what you want. And if you enjoy putting on leather driving gloves and driving down the road and you got a stinky exhaust, heaven for me, right? And you're just as amazing. Nobody on the street's gonna like. Everyone's always asking you, did you know this? Or gas station. They're like, hey, is that how fast is it gonna go? I used to have one of those.
Right.
Nobody knows. It's just live life, and that's what the Japanese in terms of that subculture. So I think you're right. Something about it, and and what was the name of the man? Damn, I'm forgetting it. Maybe it was. I could be wrong, but obviously you podcasting in. But there was a magazine much like Roadster magazine. It's like this thick. It's like a JCPenney catalog from long ago, and it's just filled with just photos into it. And you're like, oh my god, I want that rear view made out of brass, or I want that gas cap. Something. It's just plethora, and it's very dangerous to your wallet because then you have to find this and then hire someone to go buy it for you, and then you pay exorbitant shipping.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a little bit of that going on with that culture, that whole aspect.
Yeah, for sure. It's I mean, that's kind of when I got into it, and I clearly have a Rover Mini that definitely looks backdated to Mark II or Mark III or whatever it might be, and it's more about I like the purist, I like the vintage stuff, but making a Rover, whatever year it is, into that, it's whatever. It's all in the same family, and there's certain cars, obviously, I think maybe you should keep original in a way. I don't like the fact to cut up a Mark I, but who cares? I mean,
I've asked Alex Toon, asked him 100 times, and he can mark me on it. I've told him to paint that cream, the old English press he has orange. He just won't do it. And I told him to put some 16-inch rims on there. He won't do it. I've told him
that's weird. I just had him on, and he said he was going to put some hydraulics on it and make it bounce down the street.
Hey, look, the man makes so right now. It's like he can afford to do that. He can also afford to pay us a bit of the money that he kind of because the man's a millionaire. So yeah, take that. I swear. And the thing about Alex is he knows I'm after that Mark II of his. I think it's Mark II. I can't get enough of it. Every time I look at it, I'm just like that would Mini I would own is just a perfect example of it. But
so good, yeah.
They know how to do it in the UK. Okay, believe me.
Oh yeah, very nice. So tell us a little bit about Basil. Where did you get it? When was it? With the build on it?
Yeah, I don't remember when it was. I know this. I'm just numbers. I'm bad with numbers. Maybe 2012 sounds right.
Okay.
Again, I was looking for one. I remember I found one I really, really wanted long ago, and it was out of Knoxville, Tennessee, which is just near me or up Tennessee. And the amount of stuff that Mini said to me at the time was amazing. But as I got into this is a basket case, like the gate hill. There were all these autometer gauges, and he had it just was a great color green. I really like green Minis. It's just my other color other than a tweed. But so I was looking. Of course, I was on Mini Mania. Probably one of the most uptight of Mini owners on the planet. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing. But my God, you better hack straight before you enter in that arena of the fight. And I was there asking a lot of the right. Those people are very critical on giving from the Mini. It was the right place to go, and I highly suggest it for anybody looking for a Mini Mania. Go there first and just get educated on it, right? And across a gentleman there who was clearly market by selling Minis out of Canada. I basically bought this car. That's a mistake. And then the second mistake was believing this guy and some of the things articulated to the best of his ability. Which we all learn when you buy a car. It's just my fault, but I really want to buy this car.
Yep.
And I bought it from him, and he was very helpful in getting across the Liberty Bridge. I'm from originally near Buffalo, Rochester, New York. Familiar with the Canadian border, the process. Car came across fine. We had all the work. He's very used to this. He actually helped trail us. I think we stopped just north of Ohio, and that's where I basically took the keys and drove it away, and I got to know that car over time. And then when I got home, I found all that came out of it over the years, right? Everything you can imagine. It's just, the car ran great. It was a 998. The engine proof. The engine now lives in a buddy of mine here in Georgia. He's got it in his older Mini. But I wanted to get something faster eventually. But I basically had those Japanese magazines, and I really wanted to jump into that build. Kind of mapped out everything. Like I wanted to do this kind of interior. I wanted to have one of these two colors. I wanted these wheels. It took me forever to get these wheels from MB Race. They're very expensive, but they're small. They're lightweight, 3-piece, and those. And I remember the first thing I bought, the very first thing I bought for the Mini, even before I bought the Mini, when I had kind of like a shift knob from a Monte Carlo version. I don't know what year that came out for the Mini. Maybe 94, 93, 92 Mini. It was an SPI, but Monte Carlo edition.
Right.
And that I found on sale. I swear I fought someone tooth and nail, and it must have went to like $120 for the stupid shift knob. And that was the start of it. That shift knob was everything. I used to see that shift knob in like Mini World and Mania and all, or Mini magazines. So I just basically took my time and enjoyed it for a little while. It's refrigerator white with stripes and a John Cooper sticker on the side, and it had a redone interior that questionable. It ran fine. Suspension was great, but I eventually decided I was gonna redo this thing, much like what you trying to do, step by step, and just it all down on my own, and laid it out here in Lodge, built a stand that you can roll around with it. Gave it to my buddy who does body and paint work, which took forever. But he made on when it snows here or rains here. Insurance claims come in, so all the classic cars kind of take a little bit of a backseat.
Right.
So and I just put it together. Just really got it to where I really wanted it, and it was phenomenal. But that's kind of how I ended up with it. And then unfortunately decided to move on from that. I already know what I have. It's 2 garages over, but I think that it went to a great guy, and I think if you and I think it got sold on to a gentleman in California. He and I have had loose conversations, just origin around some things, and I've seen a couple photos. It looks great. It's a change, but not by much. I'm just really happy it went to a great owner. The journey behind that has been immense, and a lot of money went into it to make it right where it needed to be. So yeah.
I absolutely loved this Mini, and it just looked so perfect, and there was probably very little things that I would change. It just looks like a great car, and I think you said it came to California. I'm pretty sure like our little Facebook group, SoCal Classic Minis. I think I saw the guy join and post a picture, said thanks for the ad or whatever. I was like, hey, I know that Mini. I'll have to find it. I don't think I've seen him at any of like our meetups or shows or anything like that yet. But
I still got some parts that I'd be willing to ship to him if he's. I don't know if he's. I mean, it's nothing really major. It's just like the original things like that I have boxed up. I got people in my Mini group. I'm still part of the group because I love everybody so far, and I'm like Santa Claus. Does anybody know a bootleg for a Mark One? And it's like I've got one here on my wall. Just so I always try to some of the parts just to keep everyone else going with cars. So yeah.
I mean, I have a feeling I've seen happen several times now. People might sell their Mini and move on to something else, and they always come back. So I have a feeling that maybe one day you'll come back around. I mean, if you were truly out of it, you wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be talking about this.
Keep talking now.
What? Listen. I know between the both of us, we know a lot of people with a lot of Minis, and
Yeah. just takes one guy. I'm selling my Mini. It's like, oh God, now this.
What was the straw that broke the camel's back? Did you just want, you're clearly a car guy and you've had multiple different projects. Is it the chase of the project, or is it something that put a bad taste in your mouth about minis or things like that?
Good question. Glad you're asking it. There's two answers. But I will preface it by saying everybody in the Mini world, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Everybody that I've ever met goes through the same problem, conundrum at some point in their life. Like, why am I this? Or maybe you get the rarity where, like, I'm just going to die with this car. It's like, it's me and whoever my fix it from me. Because all we're character takers of these machine time, right? I mean, I have an 81 Audi over there that I have, and I love. I just changed the oil pan on it a couple days. Learned on that, and don't have any history of, like, who was the family who owned this before. What about the people who bought it brand new, one off the showroom in El Paso, Texas? So I think so. That's the preface. I think complete a vision of what you have. And some people go even further beyond that. I wouldn't to really balance it really nice. Don't get too extreme. My buddy Mike Snowden will laugh at this, but I see many people, like, back in my cars will put colored vacuum lines under their engine bay, red, all this kind of stuff, and they get carried away because there's so much to buy for this car. Me, I was kind of like, I want it looking almost original, but just slightly cafe racer, much like what you're doing, right? And I wanted a little bit of wear on it, although mine was patinaed as yours, but I do like that look. I do. I love hand painted thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you and I are right there. It's the same thing. And I think after putting all that work and doing it to where I wanted it, the straw that broke the camel's back is the conceit of having new parts that just tended to fall very, very quickly on this from reputable mini vendors that have no for their own. Although I could argue a case, mini vendor A selling these or these CV boots that are made in China, because I literally have them ripped in 6 months of putting them on, and it's not a slam mini. It's just like they just don't hold up. So hence the opinion you would find people would actually use good kind of materials and those kind of things. And I think I just had enough of, like, buying new parts that got shipped to my doorstep, only to find out that within months they fail, and the parts were struggling to keep me motivated into the car, because all I wanted to do was enjoy it and drive it, which I tried as I could. And to give you, and I'll shut up, like, to give you some sense of it, community, like, you can get every part on that car in my other garage, Toyota, the dealer down the street. It's like going to Rover, going, I need this, and this, and this.
Wow.
Here you go. And I think there's only like 2 parts that you can't get anymore. Body, you can get all sorts of stuff. But parts are manufactured from the original OEM that does all the other Toyota. Tacoma, like I do. You need an alternator. It's made by Denza or whoever Toyota man, all there. So every part I put on that, including the cork gasket on the oil pan, is phenomenal. It's like, it's really well, and a lot of the parts I put on there have helped. And I think there's an opportunity here for BMW, if they really wanted to do what Nissan did for Datsun. It's like, take the classic brand, however you want to do it, and revitalize that in your own manufacturer, and start manufacturing this, and keep these 700,000 cars on the road globally. If I don't know if it's correct, but just put money into it, because you can keep these cars alive, and then revisit that old platform as you own the logo now for the new platform. It's like, I don't know, someone should be doing that, if not Rover, if that even would be even possible. So I think that's kind of what pulled me out of it.
Yeah, and that's such a frustrating thing, is because it's like, oh, this great platform, you could buy pretty much anything brand new, but yeah, man, those rubber bits are just garbage now. I mean, it's hit or miss. Sometimes I've had some that, work fine and last for a long time. And like you said, I've had some bits that I put on and I didn't even drive the car yet. It was like 6 months of working on something else, and then I go back and it's already perished. Like, what the hell? Like, I didn't even use it yet.
I remember I don't know if you ever replaced this like a clutch slave on there, but it's like in months the thing started rusting under, and people know me. Like, I keep the car covered in the garage. It's humidified. I mean, I'm out in the very much in my classic Mini, although it could no problem, and I would dry it off. I'm not that retentive to make sure there's not a speck of dirt, Alex tune on a car. But I'm one that is soaking wet. I know there are parts in the water collecting as much as possible. I mean, I still have my wax oil canister over here, seeing like all the bits underneath those kind of things. But to have a save start to rust, and I know it's surface rust, but it looked like it was falling apart in my car. It was just, and then I had rubber hoses that split for fluid and coolant fluid, and it's just like brand new hoses. It's like those came out of a mini vendor, right? I should have just went down our AutoZone and got the standard 3/4 inch hosing. That probably would have been fine, but I wanted to do and stuff. So
yeah, no, I've seen, one, I mentioned Classic Minis Japan. I've seen them come out with some CV boots and some other rubber bits that apparently are really fantastic. So I think when I get the S going, I'm going to kind of venture that route and put a little more money into it. But yeah, I've seen other people, like the little kind of dust shields that are inside the upper control arm in the front, what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, those are just notoriously trash, but I've seen somebody get that same size silicone hose and slice them to perfect and fit them like that. And so, there's workarounds, but yeah, it's definitely frustrating. You order something brand new, you don't expect it to be done within a year, and it's just, constant of that kind of stuff. But generally, overall, knock on wood, with everything else, it's been pretty good. I've definitely experienced some of the stuff that you're talking about, and I've probably touched almost everything in the car. And there's a few things that I've gotten. I got like the U-bolts for the steering rack, and one of them was like completely like, it was like a V bolt, it was like, what is that? How am I supposed to, it was just like, oh man, like, come on, how's that miss on quality control, but but the good thing about most of the major parts suppliers, their customer service is good and their shipping's fast, so it's like, okay, whatever.
I always had someone ask me, where do you get tires for this? I'm like, tires from this vendor out of the UK. And it's at doorstep in seven days. Really, the shipping is like, I've never had a problem with it. Getting it, and it's always EHL or EMS from Japan, or it's something similar from the UK. Are you familiar with the mini shop called Heritage? Is that sound L?
In here in California? Yeah. Heritage Garage. Yeah, of course.
So they I've talked to techs over there, and they'd redesign parts as well. And they would say, if you're doing this bees, for instance, use ours. They're $40 for two of them, and we designed them. This is a while ago. I don't think that, but they actually help guide for those parts. Like, just stop buying these. Just come get these. Yeah. We've redesigned it, and much like that classic Mini Japans, where they are redoing end links that are a bit more about rubber. Or the metal is not I don't know what you would call the metal, but to rust as much, and maybe they're those kind of things. But there are people here in the States that are ultimately trying to do. But I would say, like, if it's coming out of like the same manufacturer from China, whatever the part is, you're gonna have to keep your eye and see if it's something that holds up. So.
Yeah, definitely, and there's so I mean, in terms of this, it's like a blessing and a curse for sure. Mm-hmm. You just gotta you have to know and don't buy blindly, because there's definitely companies out there like Classic Minis Japan, and there's a ton MED making just top quality parts. That, obviously if you get what you pay for, I guess, nowadays in the mini world, but it's good, I guess, that that you can get it all and at least get
Yeah.
the car up and running and
Yeah,
driving.
right.
Just depends how long it's going to last. But that
Yeah.
would be very interesting. I think it's more so the Japanese cars that I've seen. I think it was Nissan did it, Toyota's done it. Like you said, bringing like the vintage parts back, and I think it was Nissan for like the GTRs are making parts
Yep.
again for them or something like that. So that would be super cool if BMW decided to do that, but I highly doubt it. I think the new Mini brand is going down the
Yeah.
toilet, and it's been going down for a long time. Like they still even haven't. They're like just now coming out with like a new model. It's been a facelift for like 10 years now. Like that's super long for a manufacturer. So I don't think they're putting much effort into the new Mini to even worry about that kind of stuff.
Do you own a new Mini, or have you owned a new Mini?
That's all I've owned.
Okay.
I've had every new. Well, I've had the first gen, second gen, and I have the third gen now, all for the daily drivers. So yeah.
I got number 7 here in Atlanta. 2002 was the first year, if I got that right.
Yep.
And mine was a it was just they rebranded Cooper, and then you have this, right? I guess so. I had a black tartan interior. I had Panasport Company make a set of panels for it as a test, and then the automotive shop that made hot parts for the classic, and I really enjoyed that car a lot. And I occasionally look at them. I'll go look for one used, but my God, my friend who's a master tech, a lot of those, just like, man, you don't want to. These are disposable. Like they plant the disposability in like a phone. That point,
Yeah.
they know much out of it, and they're recyclable. If you're into that, that's great. I do love. I love first gen, third gen. I love everything. I love love the styling they've done, but I just wish things would hold up better. But it's a new world, brave new world.
Sometimes I get a little hate for it. I do like the new Mini. Like I think it's a great daily driver for what it is. The first generation of it was very sporty, pretty raw.
Yep.
Very fun with the supercharged engine. It's just not very robust, like you said. I don't know if there's a Honda swap or something you could throw in there, but it's a fun car. It's a fun car. I don't know. And the second generation was probably the shittiest in my opinion. Mine caught fire for no reason, burnt to the ground.
Right?
Yeah, and
the smaller.
the third generation, they officially went to like BMW platform, and it clearly got so much better. It's like a little BMW. It's a lot bigger and bloatier, but it's a great car. I mean, I've been in some that are hot rodded out, and they're fun. The John Cooper works. They're tight. They're pretty fast. I think they were like, for the 2-door coupe, I think it's like 230 horsepower or something like that. Like that's pretty good for a daily driver, and it's fun and makes good noises. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just definitely doesn't compare to the classic for sure. It'll always reign supreme. But yeah, I don't think BMW will jump down that rabbit hole anytime soon. They're just I don't think they're putting too much effort into the new Mini to really care about the classic.
Yeah. Probably.
Unfortunately.
Well.
So, classic Mini breakdown. What made you start that? It was just kind of a passion project, a creativity project. What kind of did you ever do anything like that before, or what?
So no. Well. Couple is when I was in college, I got a job at a radio station, pretty big radio station here while I was in school. And not that I was going for on air. It was more of just able to produce segments. Even though I was I was kind of helping the sales a lot of money. I was very interested, how the technology for editing and cutting and those. And of course, I'm a huge fan, as you can tell. I just love to do with hard rock stuff like that, right? So I worked for a radio station that was playing the really liked, and people were like, how the hell did you get that? And I just got lucky, and I'm doing my thing. But I got paid for doing it. Great. And then I got him in podcasting. I started listening to podcasts way back in the day. I think in Curry, my very first podcaster from way back, when he first kind of started putting it on a system or an internet configuration so that it could be explained to the masses, right? And then soon followed into terms of like Adam Carolla podcast early on. I just love being able to take that little podcast in your phone and get on a flight, and if I'm working and just be able to listen to any two. And skip ahead. We've all gone through this during the pandemic, but like pandemic brought a lot of demons out of a lot of people like caught up. I've always, for the most part of my job, I work from home anyways. So I was used to understanding the balance of like, oh my God, everybody, I'm all by myself. It can be a mind F on you if you're not careful, right? So
right.
At some point at the end of my, I was coming to the end of an 8-year career at this large cloud company. And I needed to do something creative. I started thinking about what my next move was, and I thought, like, I've always wanted to do a podcast around automotive, and of course I had the mini at this time. Said, what is the one thing? And I think you went through this, and you doing this. It's like, what was the one thing that the mini? It's the community, and that's all I've ever done is highlight the community in every podcast. Alex Toon, or Tom, or whoever it might be, needs to be highlight. Say these people are keeping this niche culture alive by producing videos or showing you how to fit. I mean, the deployment of YouTube that has changed the way that we do things just all right. So I really wanted just to have a platform to put for me to spend it, or if I could. Scheduling people suck. I'm gonna be honest with you. You do a great job of it, but it was so hard to do. I think I had like 5 guests, maybe seven guests. Other than my friends who live down the street, where I can get it like, hey, I got beers, come on over, let's just ramble on a podcast, which is not ideal content to put out there. Hopefully, it was funny. When we did that. And I thought, why don't I go ahead and do podcasts centered around the mini community and just talk that I've learned. And I literally spent a few pints at my pub down, hence the whole pub tie-in. But I went down to my pub, I had my notebook, and I literally wrote out 50 episodes. Just like on this episode, I'm going to talk about this, and I have it all listed out. I had guests I wanted to have on. I could never get Steveson on, like I tried, and I know we've
they're tough.
Great. They are tough, but they're so good at what they do. Yeah. And all I wanted was just to get them on somebody, just one person. I just want to know how this came to be. I think they were influenced by the culture in Japan as well, in terms of mini shop with a coffee machine in the lobby, and just the way they embrace you and bring you into their. So that kind of aspect was like, I like that. So I just put it out there for my own equipment, right? Paid for my own domain, much like what you're doing at Patreon, and never took ads on. I just wanted to do it because I loved it, because it gave me freedom to do it. I partnered with a buddy of Snowden who did all the music stuff like that. He really loved it. He doesn't own a mini guitar maker on Cigar Box guitar. The fact that he's a craftsman for what he likes. I kind of consider myself a craftsman, and like designing a classic mini the wanted to, and I would help my local community figure out how to change brake pads or where to get tires, and that's kind of where it started. And it's kind of went from there with some product reviews, year kickoff, which is what I like a lot. It talked about some things that happened in my life. I'd bring in F1 or some sport in there occasionally. Music was a big rooting thing of it, but that's kind of where it went to episode number 40. I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I don't know how they've had people hitting me on my personal page and where's Classic Mini Breakdown. It's like I know. So it's just, for me, I love podcasting. I love what you're doing. I'm so thankful that you've taken this and now go this new I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe direction you can kind of pull this into, but God, and if I can do anything to help, I love to help promote it and do everything else, because I think we need another one, right? Do something that, I've heard talks in the UK that people who are going to put out a podcast, and is like, give me 30 minutes, I'll give you the basic 3 rules of having a successful podcast, because everyone usually fails on it. I myself, because I stopped.
It's
And
hard.
if you've got that in mind, like I want to get to, I said I want the episodes and call it a day, and I never made it. But that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's good. It's out there. You can find it on Apple. It's listen to them. People always talk to me saying, "I just listened to your episode." Blah blah blah. It's great. So that's kind of how it kind of.
There's a couple of good points there, and I've mentioned this to people like off the air and maybe on the air a couple times, but scheduling is very difficult. I mean, people don't understand the time difference, and it's like I have work during the week, and then Australia. I want to do all these Australian guys, and it's so hard. They're a day
awesome,
ahead,
awesome.
and
Yep.
It's so difficult to get it going, and then some of these bigger ones, they're just it's a busy shop. I've reached out to Steveson. They're interested for sure, but it's just they have so much going on. So it's definitely difficult. And I started out, I was like, oh, I could do once a week, and I've done it so far, but it might turn into as things. I was podcast ahead before, so I would have one recording and I would have one ready for the next Monday. So I would always have a buffer, and then I had a technical difficulties and we couldn't get it done. So now it's like I'm like I'm close to like missing a week, if something else happens. So but
it's a weird feeling when you miss that week. You have to be comfortable with okay, maybe it's every 2 weeks now.
Yeah. There's going to be a point, and there's going to be a point, like I'm going to Hawaii for my wife's birthday. We're going to spend some time there. Obviously, I'll try to do podcasts while I'm there. Maybe I'll try to backload them and get them kind of recorded. But there's going to be a time that there's going to be a slight break. It's not that I don't want to. It's just difficult. I mean, there's thousands of mini owners out there to interview, but it's getting it done and their schedule, my schedule. So I feel you on that. And it's, I know Cole has the one with Hickey, and it's, I think the reason they don't have a lot more is because it's hard to schedule. And, Paul Hickey's in Ireland, he's in Carolinas, and it's just difficult. So it's definitely fun, and I've enjoyed every second of it because the conversations are similar, but they're also different. It's definitely a fun one for sure, but very difficult, and it's I'm excited to see where it leads. I've talked to the last couple times Mike Guido, and I really want to get out to a Classic Minis United trip. I want to get out to an IMM. So it's we'll see. It's fun though. But I feel your pain. The Hawaii is very interesting too. If you can connect with people who actually have a mini in Hawaii, then you can on location, which is what the only on location I ever did was a Classic Mini Atlanta up where I'd kind of roam around with my my 4K recording thing, and then I would I went to a chippy here in Georgia, the only chippy in Georgia called Wright's Fish and Chips, and she's so lovely. She grew up with minis. She had us all there at her old location, but you tie in the brand of the car, and you can make it your own kind of thing, and maybe that would be great. No one's done Brighton or any of those events where maybe it's either a vlog or a podcast or whatever. You walk around and talk to people. I think that's great to do that. I had big expectations the other weekend. We had our Queen's English big British car show here, and I brought all my stuff, and I was gonna walk around and interview people, but it's pretty difficult because it's everyone's like. Everyone's like in their own zone, and I don't know, where all the owners are. So I ended up not doing one thing, but it definitely would be cool for sure. But I don't know. Well,
that show's
amazing.
Day. The Queen's English show. It's pretty stellar. I look at photos even from it was in the original location. I think it's on the Bay, right? Isn't it? It's
that's the one that's it's. The Queen's English one's over here in the valley. It's like at a big park. There's another one. It's Central I forget what it's called, the Central Coast British Car Show, I think.
Gotcha.
It's right on the water, super cool. It's coming up, I believe. It's really close to my house. It's like 15 minutes or something like that. It's a great show right on the water in Channel Islands over here. But so you're enjoying the Toyota FJ life? Is there a big club over by you or what?
The clubs are more sparse, but I think a lot of the F community, they're really interesting people. They're a lot more salt of the earth kind of people, meaning like I literally have a guy show up here like, hey, I saw you're having problems doing something. I've got the tool that you need. Come by, I can help you with it. Like that happens in every car community, but it never happened as much in the Miata community. It happened as much in the Mini one, and the other cars. In the VW community, more prevalent there. Like I had an old Scirocco that I loved. They had a local community that would actually tools to people, and maybe that was pass. I don't know, but so for the FG or the Land Cruiser team, it's like super cool. It's flops for the most part. Like you know, it's a lot of people doing overlanding, which is the hyped word entry right now. Everyone wants to be overlanding or the. I don't know if you've these trends that are happening online now. ASMR, like it's all focused videos, like video of a guy camping, overlanding, and he doesn't sing, but it's all the natural noises of him cooking his stuff and doing. It's everywhere now, right? And of course a huge Land Cruiser, you know, after 40, 80, 100, and then into the newer stuff. But yeah, it's great, and I just love the ability to be able to work on this car. Not need a scanning tool for your BMW Mini to unlock something or put a battery, for God's sakes, all those kind of things, right? That people are finding out. I just love the visceral nature of a. It was during the gas crisis. These FJ4 they stopped making states in '82, I think, but they still made them past that. But yeah, man, I'm really enjoying it. It's a heavy vehicle. I mean, it's like you take a 31-inch tire off that thing, all steel wheel, and you're like, it's like it will put some serious. I was to that, so yeah, parts are fairly heavy and robust. But yeah, man, I'm loving it. I love everything about it. I love the outdoors and I think it needs a Mini. Like it would be great to complement it with a Mini.
It would be cool. You could do like kind of matching paint colors, get a little patina,
like a beige or that. It would be amazing to do something like that. So
yeah, that's funny about the beefiness of it. After working on the Mini, I helped friends every once in a while with their just whatever normal car, BMW. And I'll like take off the wheel thinking I'm just going to like kind of pick it up with one hand. I'm like, oh shit. Like I forgot. You forget like, oh man, it's crazy.
It's a shock. We all know that 10-inch rims, even 12s are fine, even better, like whatever. But it's like, man, when you really get one of those on the ground, like holy cow, it will put hair on your.
Yeah, shit. Oh man. Peter, are you ready for the Patty probe?
The what?
The Patty probe? What? You don't listen? I thought you said you listened. What, you turn it off at the end?
I mean, it's a newcomer to you because I am ready.
You don't listen all the way through then, huh? All right. So at the end of every podcast, we do a little something called the Patty probe. Just a series of questions. I asked. They're all based out of the same thing. I started it because I was going to do like a rapid fire thing, but it never turns into rapid fire. So it's just a bunch of questions, maybe provocative mini questions, and see kind of what you think here.
So I have yes. I am down for the challenge, and I will set a record on this with the most amazing answers for you. So yes.
All right. Question number 1: what is your favorite Mini variant?
Mini. Now to kind of define a variant. But I would say because of the nature of it, a Moke would be kind of one of my favorites.
Yeah, Mokes are cool for sure. I keep seeing. Where was it? Oh. Speaking, you might have seen this. Last F1 race in Miami. Did you see the podium like ceremony?
Yeah.
Did you see them drive the winners up to the
Yes.
podium in a moke?
Yeah, they were too. I think I remember the company who's doing, but yeah, they're big electrified. I mean, because they want tropical areas
Yeah.
and beach, they're everywhere. It's just
Yeah.
looking to see it, but
Yeah.
in
That's
fact,
funny.
if anybody wants a real giggle, go YouTube the original press release black and white films when they're driving those around in desert dunes. The British are showing how agile they are on the beaches for military use, and it's kind of funny to watch it. So
Yeah, that is a pretty funny video. Let's see. All right, here's a very controversial one. A series, Honda swap, or other?
I'm gonna say A series. Simply for the fact I've driven a couple Honda swaps while they were powerful. Or if you're out there listening, my buddy. But I didn't. I wasn't a big response and the weight and the feel of it. About fast, but I don't like trying to keep it right sided. But I will say that I'm a big advocate of the alternate, and I know from petrol standpoint, or Howard, Nissan had a very, very small engine they've developed, and there's a hubbub right now around a very small 3-cylinder engine that puts out a considerable amount of horsepower. Not a large amount, but more than the Mini. And those would be interesting to see how because that would give you the reliability that you wouldn't have to deal with it. And those fuel injected, for instance. But right. I'm more of a traditional like A series because I love the little fart mix and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I think the reason I always come back to the A series is it's not that the Hondas or any of these other powerful swaps. It's like, yeah, I want my car to be faster too, but it's just the fact that it's like the classic engine and the noise, the knickknacks, and everything that comes along with it. And that's why I want a classic Mini, not because I want it modernized, So
yeah.
What was your favorite Mini modification? Either one that you did or one that you wanted to do?
I think my favorite modification on my Mini probably had to be the interior in general. I'm an office guy. I like a cockpit like that.
Yeah.
Just things that are rated very well, minimalistic. When I got to the interior of the Mini, that's when I was dreading body, I was dreading mechanical, I was dreading suspension. I can do all that all along, but I really was waiting for that crisping to say, now I can start on the interior. And I was a guy in the shop, just time with everything and from to the carpet to the door panels to the door handles to the wheel to the hidden Bluetooth system that you wouldn't see. But that to me was everything, and that thing there was something I really enjoyed. I can tell you the one thing I didn't like doing was anything to do with a tank. Was a nightmare. I didn't like having to do something wrong, then having to move it again, only to find out that I did it wrong, and then I had to remove it, put it back in, only to find out that I should have done something else. And I think one of the missions that people really need to think about before they do it is do your research on suspension really clean, because many people you go with gas struts and the cones and all this stuff and it reads well in bright shiny colors, and then when you get out on the road you're like, what did I just do? I like a tight, possibly slightly harsh suspension, but man, that did not age well for me. That gap I had. It's a beautiful setup. It wasn't the right. No matter how much you adjust it, no matter what you. There's something about a sling. I like a lowered Mini, but damn. Got to rethink that one next time.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I've heard a lot of people have the gas, and even on the softest setting, they're really harsh. Apparently, I got the lowered shocks. I'm drawing a blank on their name. It's not gas. It's like something G Max, or I don't remember what they're called, but they're I don't remember what they're called, but they're lowered, and I found some pretty good reviews online, and so I have the high lows with the standard cones and those, and it's very stiff, but very smooth. Surprisingly, I really like them, and they're not the most expensive, they're not the cheapest, but they're really nice, and I feel like I've never seen anyone else use them, so because I've driven a couple other minis that are not very smooth. They're very rough. So
they look great, but it's just if you're going in those transition points on the highway or roads between a road and a bridge, that will teach you in a millisecond made of and what your car's made of. It's not good. And these are with 10-inch tires, not very slim tires, balloon shaped tires, but not a good thing.
Yeah. Let's see here. If you could have a drink, coffee, beer, tea with one mini celeb, who would it be?
I gonna go on the end of the spectrum and not say the normals imagine. Well, there's someone alive now who I'd spend a lot of money just to have a conversation around minis. Michael Caine. But I think if there's somebody I'd really like to, it doesn't matter. Are they alive or dead? Really matter in this?
Nope. Anybody.
I would love to spend time with him. For the simple fact to learn more about the job. I would love to kind of hear stories around him owning a classic mini. Read a lot about doing that. Peter Sellers would be another one, great comedian of our lost time, who had a really impressive mini. But yeah, I think that Michael's my choice on that one.
It's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, we've had some good answers on this. Obviously, we've had Patty. That's clearly the obvious answer, and that would be a fantastic one. I think someone else said Michael Caine too. That's a great answer. But yeah, I love that question because it's super interesting. It's like, maybe who are these people? Maybe I should reach out to some of them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull out Michael Caine on the podcast here.
How about Steve Tiffany? Let's put them on the pay a lot of money to spend some time to talk about.
Yeah. I'm trying my hardest to get Nick Swift on the pod. Yeah, they're very interested. It's race season right now, so it's obviously more difficult. But
he's great to talk to him. But I've talked to one of his main. And the guy would even follow up emails, and the road goes, "How did your dyno get? Did W5 modification go? I think you can get a little more power out of it." I'm like, I'm not even asking you questions. He's coming back to me.
Yeah,
all kind of stuff. Like, where else would you get that Swift tune? I'm really high up there for me. So
yeah. So. Well, Peter, I appreciate you being on. Thank you for spending your early afternoon with me, and I will catch you guys on the next one.